And we're live.
Are we live or is it
Memorex?
Or is it Memorex? Good evening, Ericka.
Hello. Hello, Robert. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah.
Bonne année. Happy New Year. Happy New
Yeah.
Year.
Ooh, is
Happy
that French?
Hanukkah. Oui, c'est vrai. But
No, it's shameful.
Maybe in so. Look, I can tell you this is not only a special broadcast, but it is very special. You do realize this is the first time in 65 years that Hanukkah and Christmas are on the same day.
Isn't that wild?
It is the end of an era. It is the beginning of a new cycle.
Yeah.
But before we get there, I want to
Okay.
start with, as I always do, they say that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, right?
Yeah.
And you know how delicate my ego is. So Riley Gaines, the NCAA swimmer, who was competing against the transgender guy or whatever his name was.
Leah Thomas.
So she was on Hannity, and she said diversity, equity, and inclusion really stands for discrimination, exclusion, and indoctrination.
Ooh.
Now, our words are off a little bit, but I want some cred, like Robert was right?
Yeah.
How long ago, right? Diverse. So Lord Benjamin needs to find the episode, the very first one, because it's got to go back a year or maybe or
At
more,
least.
where we said diversity, equity, and inclusion means division, right?
Yep.
Exclusion and intolerance.
That's right.
So now so instead of division, she has discrimination, sort of the same thing.
Yeah.
We agreed on exclusion, and instead of indoctrination, I'm intolerance. So come on, I want a little credit here because
I feel like the indoctrination is intolerance, isn't it? So I'm saying you got at least 2 out of 3. I feel like maybe we should copyright it in case somebody else wants to take your thing.
Excuse me, take my thing.
Yeah.
Look, let me put it this way. I think we're at the end of a cycle and the beginning of a new one. May DEI burn. Am I allowed to say hell? Burn in hell and never be heard from again.
Amen.
Let's roll. Hello, and welcome to Of the People, New Year's Eve edition. A return to American exceptionalism. So as we're on the threshold of a new year, looking forward, but also looking backwards to where we've come from, the year ahead feels somehow different. And it's not just the second term of Donald Trump. That's a big part of it. But it's more than just that. There's a sense of renewal and that the pendulum is swinging the other way. And that the idea of American exceptionalism, of America being that shining city on the hill and not some relic of the past, but a vision for our future, is now back in vogue. And it's a call to reclaim our place in the world, not just as a nation of opportunity, but as a nation of leadership. Because America is really a beacon of freedom, innovation, and resolve. Now, in real terms, we need to remind the world that America doesn't just follow trends, it sets them. From Silicon Valley to our heartlands, it defines our future. Our military might stands as a force for good and a force for peace, not oppression, and certainly not a tool of evil. Our values of liberty, of equality, and the pursuit of happiness are honestly not negotiable. But this isn't just about flexing our power abroad. It's about fixing what's broken here at home. Because American exceptionalism isn't automatic. It has to be earned through hard work, through tough choices, and through unity. And we have to tackle the divisions that have festered in our communities, and we must invest in our people, in our education, in our infrastructure, and most importantly, in our children. Because no nation can lead the world without first returning its people and leading its people to prosperity. So that's looking forward. But we also look back and we see the end of a cycle and the end of an era. And what I'm really talking about is the end of the Obama-Biden era. If there's one real loser in this election, it's Barack Obama. The best thing I can say is that for the last certainly 8 or 16 years, this was a chapter of America of profound change. And that's the best I can say. But it really was about dividing us, because Obama tried to redefine America as a country that was not exceptional, that we are flawed to our core, and that it goes back to even our founding and the original sin of slavery, and America is an occupying colonial power. Barack Obama was and is a skilled orator, but behind those polished speeches, his worldview was not of an America as a force for good, but a nation that was hampered by its past. And we are some sort of oppressor in a post-colonial world in his mind. And he asked Americans to apologize for being America and not about the greatness of America, and not to celebrate America. And on the world stage, let's not forget, he instituted essentially a policy of retreat and saw America's role in the world diminished. And all that really did was allow our adversaries, China, Iran, and Russia, to fill that power void. He saw American exceptionalism not as a virtue, but an embarrassment. And let's be honest, who can forget Obama's around the world apology for America tour when he first took office? And then there were the domestic policies where he spoke about unity, but really the rhetoric was really more about dividing the country into identity politics. And he perpetuated a narrative that America's institutions were inherently flawed and we're all racist now. Most importantly, he created a culture of grievances and exclusion and society of victims. That cycle has ended. The year ahead is a chance to restore the confidence that the American dream isn't dead, that it's alive and it's waiting for us to believe in it again. Not a nation of excuses or one content to go backwards. We are Americans. So 2025 offers us a chance to begin again, to rebuild the trust between people, to prioritize those of us who feel forgotten and left behind, and to the silent majority who still believes in the nation, the promise of this great nation. It is a chance to reclaim our place as leaders in the world through strength and moral clarity. Make no mistake, the road ahead will not be easy. If we have learned anything from the Obama-Biden years, it's that division, or whatever they called it, division, exclusion, and intolerance, diversity, equity, inclusion, is not an option. It's a time to heal. It is a time to rebuild and to prove once again that the American dream belongs to all of us. It is time to return American exceptionalism as our guiding and foundational principle. 2025 offers us an opportunity to remember who we are. We are Americans. We're not red, we're not blue, we're not urban or rural. We are one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And that's the monologue. Ericka, happy 2025 coming up.
Amen. Amen to that, Robert. I just have to say, great monologue. I think it will be nice when we finally get to say goodbye to the Obamas and people like that. There was once a time in this country where presidents went away after they left office. It was kind of a tradition that when you were no longer in charge, you you shut up. And this guy doesn't know how to do that. So
I am so glad you brought that up. That was actually something I wanted to talk about before we get into sort of the best of that you and I have labored over. There's no better example of that than George W. Bush, 43rd president of the United States, who, when he left office, and you can look at those that preceded him, they left Washington, D.C. Yeah. They left politics to let new leaders come forth and new ideas. It tells you a lot about Obama, Biden, let's call it Obama, Biden, Harris, because they're all cut from the same cloth, that they see this as an ideological struggle.
Yes.
Not to ever give up power. And therefore, and what most people don't know, that the Obamas were in Georgetown. There was a continual parade of limousines, black cars that would go all the time to confer with the Obamas. And let's not forget during the, but this is who he is, right? Let's take that back. He's still, to me, the original Manchurian candidate. I don't think we actually know who he is. That's a whole tinfoil hat thing. Well, but at the end of the day, let's not forget, Obama for America took over the DNC.
Yeah.
Right. So the whole thing really is that he didn't want to lose power, but he couldn't get Hillary Clinton elected. He couldn't get Kamala Harris elected. And arguably, I don't think he got Joe Biden elected, because if anybody's going to tell me that Joe Biden got 81 million votes hiding in his basement, there's beachfront property or oceanfront property in Arkansas I'd like to sell you.
Good night. Good night. Well, okay, so hold on. Before we get started on anything, I need you to check your microphone. Check your microphone. Something happened, and it sounds like it switched sources. So while you're doing that, I'm going to kill some time and
some time, and let's see.
Yeah, I'm going to show everybody my screen. We were talking about Albert Levy, the artist who did the Israel America flag. So I just thought I would bring up his stuff and show you guys.
So the emblem of Israel Appreciation Day, you see it behind me on my right. I actually purchased the original artwork. We're going to put that up at some point as we build this out into a real studio. But how's my mic sounding now?
Much sexier. It's got all the bass back. I like it.
So did we cut out during the monologue?
We'll talk about it after.
Oh no, you're gonna make me redo the monologue. I'm gonna have to redo the monologue. Okay.
Yeah, probably. Ladies and gentlemen, that is live television, live YouTube. Live.
There is nothing wrong with your TV set. We are in complete control.
Yes.
So let's
go ahead. You start. I'm excited to go and review some of these guests that we've had. This was fun.
Well, first of all, not to toot our own horn, but when you look at the guests that we've had, one of them is Kash Patel, who is our FBI director. Another is Harmeet Dillon, who is nominated to be the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights. Another is former presidential candidate Doug Burgum, who is nominated to be the Department of Interior head. Right?
We've had half the cabinet on our show here, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I don't know about that, but we've had a lot of them, and then there's some others.
That's what I'm going with.
so you go with that. So, you got to stop here at some point.
I get to exaggerate.
I'm not touching that. There's so many things I could say on New Year's Eve that would probably get us bleeped off of YouTube or some other platform.
Wait, I got my button ready. All
right. Ladies and gentlemen, what we really wanted to do was go back to some of the great interviews and people that we had on the show and play a little clip, because there's some really interesting things. Let's start with Kash Patel, nominated to be the director of the FBI. Came out with the book, Government Gangster, which was then made into a movie. We had him on the show. He was our great guest. Ericka, I'm going to roll this over to you.
All right.
Government gangsters aren't people who are unsuccessful. It's dismissive to label them as such because we disagree with their politics. That's separate and apart from the reason I dislike Nancy Pelosi. I dislike her because she represents everything that's bad with Washington, D.C. Whether she's in leadership or anointing the next leadership or eviscerating the Democratic process for the Democratic Party and throwing out 14 million votes and anointing Kamala Harris to be the president, she is always right there no degrees of separation from what is going on in the powerhouse of Washington. And she's, what is she, like 80 something? And they're making fun of us for having octogenarians, but she will not go away. I mean, she's not Speaker of the House anymore, and she might be more powerful now than she ever has been. She just remade the political presidential landscape with the sitting president of the United States, sidelined him and handpicked his successor. I mean, literally. And you got to be kidding me if you don't think she didn't pick the vice president of the United States. And that's what embodies government gangster.
He entered the presidency under a coup, essentially. I mean, what else would you call that?
So I think everyone learned. It's not just whether Donald Trump learned. I mean, I'll let him speak for himself, but I think everyone learned that, okay, we put a little too much faith in the system. The system took advantage of it. And here's why. Here is like sort of the final piece of Government Gangsters, the film and the book. It's really simple. Trump.
That was such a good interview.
You know what? And I think that he is going to clean house at the FBI, the likes of which has not been seen since after J. Edgar Hoover.
Yes, I love it.
Died,
I love
and
it.
then they appointed a new director, right? Because at the end of the day, this comes down to, and he's 100% correct. There cannot be two sets of laws. You cannot weaponize laws for politics. And there cannot be two-tiered system of justice, which clearly there has been, right?
Yes.
So I'm eager to see, I believe, another Robert prediction, we'll get to some of those later tonight. I predict that Kash Patel will be confirmed as the next director of the FBI. And I think that there are people now who are resigning left and right, both from the Department of Justice and the FBI, because they don't, well, it's not just that they don't want to be there when Trump is sworn into office. Is they're now lawyering up, if you read the press.
Ooh.
A lot of these attorneys are going to some of the top law firms in DC, but B, they're hiring attorneys already in anticipation of litigation against them for wrongful prosecution and other things.
Oh,
What
well,
do you think of them apples?
That's amazing. We have another clip of Kash Patel. You want me to roll that one?
Well, before we do, I want to go to this whole thing about Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
If Nancy Pelosi is stronger after she was the Speaker of the House than she was a Speaker of the House, that's a scary thing. Because it's the same issue with Barack Obama, right? Arguably, he's no longer held checks and balances and constitutionally limited by things, yet the power that he has exerted, and let's look at the cabal, because that's what it is, ladies and gentlemen, CABAL, look it up. There's a cabal, right, of power, of people, deep state, call them what you want, who do not want to relinquish power, and it is an ideological struggle that we're engaged in. And I do believe, honestly, we have crested. I believe the reason I said in the monologue that there are 16 years of Obama Biden, because even during the 4 years of Donald Trump's first term, he was so hamstrung with whether it was Russiagate or the fact that they spied on him or the impeachments, not one, but two, right? The prosecution of all the January 6th, people wrongfully, in my opinion.
There's all the even just all the chaos with the, people on both sides and having to defend that crap over and over again instead of having conversations about stuff that actually mattered.
Right. So one could argue that we have had not 8 years, not 12 years, but 16 years in one form of it or another of Obama, Biden, Harris. And I think that was the repudiation. As much as I think people voted for Donald Trump, for sure, I think a lot of people voted against Obama, Biden, Harris.
Yes.
I think Obama, Biden, Harris are the big losers of 2024.
Well, and that's,
and let's say Pelosi too.
Yeah.
Obama, Biden, Harris, Pelosi.
That's what the neocons and these Democrats, these corrupt politicians that have been stealing from the American people, selling off our businesses and our economic activity and, insider trading and all that other crap. We can see them now. The internet exists. Back in the day, they could get away with this crap pretty much because, a lot of people didn't check the news. They weren't watching newspapers or reading newspapers, watching the TV or whatever. And so now Like, we can see the videos of you lying back to back. You know, we can see the videos of you saying, oh, no, you got to wear a mask. No, don't wear a mask. No, I lied to you about the mask. Like, we see you, bro. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for all these people to go away.
Well, they're not all going to go away, but I think a lot of them are going to go away. I think the cycle has ended. I think there's still going to be pockets of resistance in the government. I think we still are a long way from reclaiming academia and sort of the socialist. And you know, everybody's worried about these H-1 visas, right?
Yeah.
I'm more concerned about the student visas, right? You have all these, you know, how many, you know, 500,000 student visas, 1 million student visas, I don't even know the number, issued every year. A foreign nationals coming here and then getting brainwashed by our institutions, and frankly, also funding these institutions going forward. So there's a whole, I think there's a whole lot.
I hadn't even thought about that, Robert.
Oh yeah. You know, look, people are worried about the H-1 visas. I get that. Okay. Yeah. And there's an argument on both sides. It'll be interesting to see. Let's hope we don't have a circular firing squad in the Republican Party, because we're good as the party out of power. Let's hope we can govern, and let's hope that Speaker Johnson doesn't end up being Paul Ryan. I don't think he will. I think he's a man of principle, but I think he understands that compromise is endemic in the system. I'm not sure we are at a point in the cycle of this country where compromise beyond certain issues is really what America wants, but we shall see.
Yeah.
What I do want to focus on is, let's go back. The interesting thing in that Cash Patella interview, so the first part was interesting about sort of the cabal of Nancy Pelosi and the power, right? But then he goes on, because we started talking, if you remember, we went on to say, you know, I always thought this started during the Clinton years, right? Because, you know, sort of the Arkansas or the Little Rock connection. But his point was much more interesting, that he says it started much earlier. Let's roll that tape.
When I agree that the Clintons and the Arkansas clan is part of the deep state, but I think the deep state started when Ike Eisenhower called out the defense industrial complex in the 50s. And he said, if we don't control this animal, it is going to usurp the powers of government. And not just the defense industrial complex, but everything a part of it. How government figures want to go in and out of Washington, D.C., and they want to get their golden parachute. And they want to go work on this private company or that board and come back and get rewarded for their corrupt activities in government instead of serving the people. So over those last 50, 60 years, we've encapsulated all of it in Government Gangsters, the film, and stitched together how basically you just move people in and out. It's not one face. It's not Democrat or Republican. And they're repeating the same playbook, just with upgraded technology. So as bad as Russiagate was, and as horrible as it was for a political opponent to go overseas and purchase bogus intel and feed it to the FBI, then lie to a federal court to illegally surveil a presidential candidate, as bad as that was, they did it again with 51 Intel letter. They did it again with the insurrection narrative, which was never constitutionally grounded. They did it again with whatever version of Get Trump they're doing now, like, oh, we're going to give illegal aliens the right to vote. It's totally illegal, but they're going to do it anyway because they don't care. Now it's so in your face. At least with Russiagate, they hit it. They said everything's classified. You can't see anything. You guys aren't smart enough to look at this information. Only the criminals in government can do it. And now they're just like, whatever.
I love that. You guys aren't smart enough. Only the criminals in government.
Right. So the brilliant part of that was connecting the dots all the way back to Eisenhower. I mean, I know my history, and I remember Eisenhower in his farewell speech warning about the military-industrial complex, but it didn't dawn on me that there is a line of connection all the way back. Look, our military and our technology sector, and the Lockheed Martins and all. I mean, they do yeoman's work. So I'm not trying to throw the baby out with the bathwater. But the fact that you can connect the dots all the way back, there is very much a military-industrial complex that has never seen a war or a theater of engagement they didn't like, because it's obviously driven by profit. Having said that, I think one of the other changes is, let's not forget, we used to have something called the Department of War. And they shifted that, like what's in a name, they shifted that to a Department of Defense. Well, it's not because it's more sellable, right? It's not just about defense. I mean, wars are supposed to be ugly. And the reason they're supposed to be ugly is so you don't have a lot of them. Right. So but defense sounds, we're just defending. We're defending democracy, or we're defending, right? I mean, and by the way, it went from defending democracy to exporting democracy, which is not our job, right? To being peacekeepers, right? We're keeping the peace. No, you're not.
We got to spread democracy, which, is funny even to say if you think about it, because democracy is mob rule. We say democracy is bad, but we want to spread democracy.
Well,
I'm just saying. Talk about being in a word.
Well, but we're not a democracy.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
People use the word democracy. We are a constitutional republic.
Why would we spread democracy? Something that is fundamentally a flawed and horrible system. It's terrible. Whatever.
Well, look, it's why there's a bicameral system, right? The House of Representatives is supposed to burn hot. That is democratic. And I would argue, I think it's the 17th and the 19th Amendment that changed the way senators were elected. Senators were used to be elected by their state legislatures, and then appointed, by the state legislature, as opposed to direct election. I think that's also where it changed the nature of politics, because they were supposed to be sort of like the House of Lords and House of Commons, right? They were supposed to be bicameral, where one burned hot and one was sort of the cooling chamber, if you will.
Yeah.
Now, there are still legacies of that in the Senate, most notably with the filibuster, which obviously tries to protect the rights of the minority. But I think that's something that we've lost in all of this. So democracy burns hot. I mean, democracy are people with a pitchfork and torches that want to burn down things when they're angry. And I understand some of that sometimes.
Yeah, but we don't want that.
We are a constitutional republic. We are not a democracy. We do not directly elect the president, right? And we are governed by a constitution, not by the rule of the majority. Democracy equals the rule of the majority. That's it.
Yep. And that's your civics lesson for this New Year's Eve, ladies and gentlemen. I love it. So, okay. So if you guys have any questions, if you have any questions about any of the guests, anything for us, put them in the chat, put them in the comments section. Let us know. We'll read them on the air. And
since it's New Year's Eve, let us know what your beverage of choice is.
Oh, I mean,
are we attracting beer drinkers, wine drinkers, or martini drinkers?
I think Lord Benjamin is drinking mead.
Whatever that is.
That's what Vikings drink.
So I want to roll to the next interview with Harmeet Dillon.
Yeah.
I cannot think of anyone who has been at the forefront of this, of protecting civil rights and the rights of children, and fighting against this whole transgender. I mean, here's the truth. If you're gay, if you're lesbian, I really don't care your sexual preference. But when you start not only mutilating children, but when you start transgendering, I mean, this is really simple. There are only two genders. There aren't 12.
Yeah.
Right. It's really, really simple. And then when you want to change a boy into a girl or a girl into a boy, you lose me. I mean, to me, you're going against God's laws. It's that simple. There are biologically two genders and only two genders. So I can't think of anyone who's been at the forefront of fighting for what I would call real civil rights or human rights than Harmeet Dillon. And I think she is an outstanding pick by President Trump as the Assistant Attorney General of civil rights in this country. Let's play a little bit of that.
I view what's happening to America's children who are being subjected to this contagion, and it's mainly girls who are succumbing to it as children, as a human rights issue, because these children are put in the care of adults with authority. That's teachers and doctors, psychiatrists, and guidance counselors. And it's typically not the parents pressuring them to do it. It's something that they picked up either through our frankly abusive and addictive social media companies in America, or more frequently we see now the schools. We see a concerted effort, a well-funded effort by LGBTQ nonprofits and other social engineering organizations to push this ideology in the schools. And because
Right.
it is a lie that you can change your body from male to female. There's no amount of hormones or sex mimicry surgery that can do that. So first of all, there are a few psychologically challenged moms who are pushing this at a younger age. More commonly, what we've seen is it is something that the children themselves pick up through social media or through pressure in the schools. And we've had multiple cases involving, even before we got to the surgical cases, and 2 of our lawsuits.
And she is Harmeet Dillon. She is representing a number of detransitioners out in California. She, what is her, hang on, we have her law firm and stuff up
Dillon Law.
Okay.
Dillon Law, DILLON, Dillon Law. And I know we need to keep the show moving because there's so much we can spend on. I also want to bring up Doug Burgum, right? We had the honor of interviewing him at New Hampshire's First in the Nation Summit. He was then running for, the nominee for president. Ultimately, obviously, he withdrew. But I was most impressed with these Midwestern values and his understanding of the energy sector, which I think I want to play again for everybody real quick, because energy is the backbone of this country. I think you'll see the XL pipeline now started over again. But again, cannot think of a better pick. I will tell you, personnel is policy in all administration. And I am greatly heartened this term over the first term of Donald Trump's pick for office, not the least of which Governor Doug Burgum. Let's roll that. How do you tackle that as president in terms of addressing not only the war against Israel, but the larger issue of the head of the snake, which is Iran?
Well, you're right on track about Iran, because what I like to say, when I'm your president, this won't be happening, because what we've got is responding wars through weakness. The appeasement strategy that started under Obama relative to Iran with the Iran nuclear deal and now continued on under the Biden administration is the same thing. We were also weak on supporting Ukraine, and we were weak in essentially greenlighting Putin to go into Russia.
Right.
And then we were super weak when we pulled out of Afghanistan. I mean, wouldn't we want to have that Bagram Air Base right now as things start to heat up in the Middle East? And so we've basically done all that, and then all that greenlights China to do whatever they want in Taiwan. And so it's a set of policies that we have, both abroad and national security and home economically, that are all self-inflicted under Joe Biden. None of this needs to be happening. We got to go in a 180 different degree turn going forward on both national security and on our economy.
So you talked about oil. Let's talk about energy.
Right. Ben. Okay.
Pull that clip up again. You just had it. I want the piece.
Hold on. No, it's okay. It's okay. It sounds like we have it. So I don't know if I can fast forward on these clips. So yeah, no, it plays or it doesn't. So unfortunately, I stopped it where we were starting. So
all right. Well, all I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, is that I think, again, Governor Burgum is an excellent pick as the Secretary of the Interior, because he understands energy. He understands the need to be energy independent in this country. And he has these Midwestern values that I think play well in flyover country, because he gets it. It's fairly simple.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. And so now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break and hear from our sponsor, the American Center for Education and Knowledge. So make sure while you're watching this video that you like it, that you share it, give us a comment, share a question or whatever in the chat. And stay with us for just a moment.
America came into being based on a shared belief and a common set of values. Unlike other nations that were bound together based on common ancestry, race, or caste, we came into being based on a simple and shared set of ideals. That the power of government is based on the consent of the governed. That life, the freedom to live life on our own terms in our own way, free from government interference, and liberty, our most precious value, and the pursuit of happiness, which means we are free to pursue that which we choose, with the knowledge and courage to know that nothing is guaranteed to us in this life. Those values, America was founded on these basic inalienable rights: freedom to pray to God in our own way, freedom to think and speak freely without fear of punishment or harm, and freedom to gather in our places of worship and in our local taverns, and freedom to defend ourselves, our families, our homes, and our neighbors as we see fit. The American Center for Education and Knowledge is dedicated to protecting American exceptionalism anywhere and everywhere it is threatened. ASIC is a 501c3 and depends on your tax-deductible donations. Please help us continue our fight.
All right. If we wanted to pull that Doug Burgum clip back up, we can, or we can move on to the next segment.
Let's move on, because that's domestic, right? Civil rights, law enforcement, energy. Those will be three main themes in the new incoming Trump administration.
I like it.
But also in 2024, we had Israel Appreciation Day. Israel has now taken out Hamas, functionally defeated Hamas and Hezbollah. The fall of the House of Assad in Syria opens up possibilities and also exposes Iran to being vulnerable to Israel's counteroffensive, because now Israel can fly over Syrian airspace because they've neutralized any threats to Israeli planes. But what it doesn't do is no one celebrates Israel for all the things that make Israel special. And that's what we tried to do with Israel Appreciation Day. And we had so many good guests. First, let's roll the clip of the highlight reel in case you missed Israel Appreciation Day. Here's the highlight reel.
Hello, and thank you for being here. This is the first ever Israel Appreciation Day.
I believe in the words of Israel's first leader, David Ben-Gurion, who said, "One does not write history, one makes history."
The history of the Jewish people is one of rising and flourishing, despite thousands of years of being attacked, exiled, and scapegoated.
And I'm honored to join all of you in celebrating the first annual Israel Appreciation Day. And there are many reasons to appreciate Israel. It's one of America's closest allies in the world. It's a safe haven for persecuted people, and it's a wellspring of innovation.
That the land of Israel was given to the Jewish people, not by the United Nations, but by God himself.
Well, no one wants to fight. I'd love not to have this weapon, to be in a bulletproof vest, to serve in the IDF.
We cannot allow the worst instincts in our society to win. We must stand proud, and we must stand tall.
This is the Jewish moment, when the Jewish people stands for life over death and shows the lost and confused West how to survive.
From the Chalutzim, the pioneers, the original and early inhabitants of the land, even before the official creation of the State of Israel in 1948.
In my mind, one does not have to be Jewish to support Israel in their battle against the evil that is Hamas. One only has to be human.
Our Jewish community is stronger than ever.
And Israel's two things. It's not just a place, it's also a people.
We're only a generation away from the Holocaust. And understanding, yes, it could happen again. My daughter came home and said, is there going to be another Holocaust?
I couldn't live with myself if I didn't stand with Israel and the Jewish people at this moment in time when they most need us.
A free press during the Israel-Hamas conflict has provided real-time updates on terror attacks. And if we don't learn from those conflicts and wars, we're doomed to repeat the same mistake.
And it takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength to come out and be a voice of one sometimes. What did you do professionally prior to October 7th?
It is your duty as a Jew to shine the light. Go on to social media.
Why would you flourish under persecution? And the answer is that's our nature. That's always been our nature. When our enemies terrorize us and they come after us, what you see is a direct correlation to innovation.
The nation of Israel lives. You know, it still gives me goosebumps to look at that. But I want to go to, there were so many people who participated, and all of them were just incredibly powerful. But Hillel Fold, who is one of the, Israeli, lives in Israel, one of the top 10 technology influencers in the world, was one of our speakers, also a guest on Of the People, was really just was one of the most powerful speakers we had, and really cut to the core of the things that make Israel strong and so special. Let's play that clip from Hillel Fold.
It's a strong focus on family values and on education. You see the results, and you see that, a completely disproportionate number of Nobel Prizes were granted to Jews. It makes no sense. Again, we're 0.25% of the population. So, and by the way, if you look at the media and you don't know that number, that we're 0.25%, but you think we're like 70% of the population, because we dominate the news cycle, which is in and of itself a whole discussion. But as far as making the world a better place, I mean, you look at things like cancer research, right? I mean, I had the opportunity many years ago to interview a man named Dr. Rick Klausner, who is the director of the National Cancer Institute, and the man that every U.S. president came to with a blank check and said, here, cure cancer. He managed more cancer research money than anyone in the world. And I had the chance to interview him, and I asked him about, why is it that we have AI and, self-driving cars and drones and all this stuff, but we can't crack cancer? And he said, we have cracked cancer. He said, we've learned how to take a person's immune system and attack the cancer. And that, that blew my mind. He said, many of these cures are still in the labs, they're not FDA approved. But then he continued and he told me that all of these leading cures and treatments are all developed in Israel. All of them. It's wild. And we're unified. That is our strength, and vice versa. When we are not unified, our enemies smell our weakness. And we have documents retrieved from Gaza that Hamas blatantly states that the division in Israel is what caused them to do October 7th on October 7th. They were planning this. Wow. No, they were going to do it. But it happened on October 7th because of the division in Israel. And I want to say something. A lot of my friends, hundreds of my friends and colleagues are out there on Kaplan Street, protesting against Bibi. And I love and I respect a lot of these people. I do. And I think many of them have good intentions. I really do believe that. But I'm telling you that there is a real sickness that we know of, Trump derangement syndrome. We call it Bibi derangement syndrome. It is an obsession. Nothing he can do, nothing will he get right. And I'll just give you one example, because it's so blatant. He just fired the defense minister. Why did he fire the defense minister? Right. Because he wasn't loyal to the government. These people went to the streets burning Tel Aviv. How could he fire the defense minister in the middle of a war? The same people a day before were standing there yelling that we need to fire Netanyahu. Wait a second.
Wow.
Incredibly powerful and spot on, right? Touches on two things. And that, by the way, that was Of the People interview, not even as part from Israel Appreciation Day. But having said that, the fact that they've cracked cancer research, right? These are all the things that people don't know about Israel. So it's not just about the war. It's not just about Israel's survival. As Hillel Fold rightfully points out, there is just an incredible wealth of discovery and technology and things that benefit mankind and benefit the planet that no one knows about. So what we need to focus on are all those things that celebrate Israel and all the good things, not a puff piece, not something that, that you're writing sort of an ad campaign, but the honest truth and the facts that people don't know. We need to elevate Israel and elevate people's understanding, certainly in this country. But you go to those college campuses where the protests are, where they're, talking about, free Palestine from the river to the sea, even though most of those knuckleheads don't know what they're talking about. They
don't know what river or what sea.
They don't know what river or what sea, right? But we need to do a better job educating them, not only in reading, writing, and arithmetic, which clearly they don't know really well either. By the way, I just saw something as a total segue or sidebar. Only 36% of American citizens could pass the American citizen test given to new citizens.
I'm actually surprised it's that high, Robert.
And I will tell you, I saw it online. I took the American citizen test.
You did?
I did.
Okay. And did you pass?
I got 100.
No, you didn't.
The Lord is my witness.
Is it the real citizenship test?
Yeah. It's got all sorts of different questions from a historical perspective and how the government works. I mean, it's not really that hard if you are engaged in life and in America and in politics.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to the whole Israel thing.
Oh,
but the second thing that...
Wait, you got to send me a link to that. We got to share a link for everybody to take
just look it up online. You'll see. Actually, I took it on PragerU, which is where... So PragerU has the American citizen test posted because they're trying to see how many people can pass. So you can go look at that.
I'm looking it up right now. Okay, now you can segue. You now have my permission to segue.
I am glad I have your permission. So the other thing that Hillel touched on was that when you divide a country, you can conquer, or you can try to conquer, right? Here, they were trying to divide America through mass illegal immigration and open borders. There, I would tell you that there were people trying to divide Israel to distract them from security and the borders, and that's when they attacked, right? So, I mean, just incredible. And there's so many people. Go to IsraelAppreciationDay.com. You can see the trailer. There's so many. We're so thankful for everyone who contributed to that. And I will tell you, look for Israel Appreciation Day 2025, which will be even bigger, even better. And we're putting together a documentary about elevating all things that Israel does in the world. How do you like them apples?
I like it. I'm into it. All right. So are we going to hear from Morgan next, or are we going to take another break?
Well, you tell me. How we doing on a time check?
I think we're good. I think we'll be good. You want to hear from Morgan?
So Morgan Ortagus is someone else we interviewed. It was at First in the Nation. She's the former spokesperson for Secretary Mike Pompeo. We talked to her at the not maybe the apex of the war, but it was certainly the apex of the war against Hamas. And she rightfully points out, she runs, I think it's the Polaris Institute now, but she rightfully points out that the real issue that Israel was going to have to contend with, so her prediction was 100% correct, was the multi-front wall. Let's roll that tape too.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I was looking for something.
Israel's going to be able to take care of Hamas in Gaza. I'm not as worried about that as I am about what happens with Hezbollah in the north, what happens from Syria. There was reportedly some rockets that came from Syria into the Golan Heights. Right. And does this end up turning into a multi-front war for Israel? You know, they're surrounded by their enemies. We saw, sadly, 50 years ago in the Yom Kippur War, what can happen to the state of Israel.
The EU has already put out requests for a proportionate response. Israel's not known for raping women or beheading babies, so I'm not sure what.
How do you proportionally respond to rapes and beheadings? Yeah. You know, they thought they had this fantasy, total fantasy, that they could take a theocratic, revolutionary regime and turn it into a moderating force in the Middle East. That obviously did not work. They got billions of dollars in sanctions relief, which they used to fund terrorism. As I just said in my speech and my remarks earlier, in the Biden administration, they've gone back to that capitulation, back to that appeasement policy. Hamas was receiving about $100 million a year from Iran. It's been $350 million. $350 million this year. Why? Because the Biden administration refuses to enforce the sanctions that are on the book. They just gave them $6 billion.
That was last year, as I recall. So,
and Morgan Ortagus was spot on.
Yep.
And also calling out the Biden administration, much like the monologue, if you could hear my microphone, much like the monologue today, which is that it was let's call it what it is, the Obama, Biden, Harris, Pelosi foreign policy, that America is a bad place, that American exceptional, that America is, is founded on the original sin of slavery, that it's about dividing people by race and identity, right?
Yeah.
And therefore, and withdrawing from international affairs to the point where there was an ascendancy of Iran and China and Russia, including shipping pallets of money to Iran in the middle of the night, right? Billions and billions of dollars. So again, great interview with Morgan Ortagus, but I know we got a lot to cover. And that's just some of the guests in the last 12 months.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to take another very quick break. And when we come back, we're going to have Robert Was Right. We're going to have a segment about, yes, Robert's predictions that came true, ladies and gentlemen, after we hear from our sponsor.
Socialism. The goal of socialism is communism. The world is quite familiar with socialism and the horrors socialism has brought with it. It wasn't that long ago. Actually, it's still with us. Socialism creeps into government slowly until it's too late. Socialism, the big lie. Yes, it could happen anywhere. This educational video was brought to you by the American Center for Education and Knowledge and paid for by people like you who care about the future of our democracy. Please help us continue our work educating the American public and consider supporting ASIC by making a tax-deductible donation at asicfund.org.
And we're back.
We are back. So, we're going to do this segment called Robert Was Right. I love that. But my question is, was Robert ever wrong?
What? Never. Never. Never.
All right. So,
never.
I haven't seen this, but you put together this compo. I can think of one thing I predicted correctly, but let's see what you put together. Because, when you foam at the mouth as much as I do, I bound to get a couple right. Look at the rallies, look at the energy. Anybody who thinks that this is a close election is just not paying attention. We'll see what the results are. Let's hope we don't have computer glitches in the middle of the night that stop and start again as they did before. But the prediction here, ladies and gentlemen, is this is not going to be a close election at all. This was such an embarrassment for the process, for the people. I don't care whether you're Republican or Democrat. It makes no difference to me. This reflected poorly on the country and all of this. So all I can tell you is bye-bye Joe Biden. Or as we like to say, Biden is bye. Done. And it's just a question now of whether or not they replace him before or after the convention, but they will force him out one way or the other. You're already seeing the poll numbers drop. You're already seeing some of the donors who want their money back. Two surefire signs. You want to take bets? If Trump wins, and by all yardsticks, he should, if it's a free and fair election.
Based on
don't know that. Right I don't now. I don't believe the polls. I'm really going, based on the fact that I think he's going to do better with the black community than any Republican has done in the sort of modern era. I think he's going to do exceedingly well in the Latino, Hispanic communities as well, because I think they see through all this, crap that they're being handed from the Democrats. I think he's still got a problem with middle class women. I think that's still an issue. But I think if you look at the different states, and I think the working class vote goes his way. I think a lot of the union voters, like the auto unions and others, those kind, SEIU. I think a lot of the rank and file are going to vote for Trump.
Ding ding
ding ding ding.
Hold on? Didn't you also predict that he would win all the swing states?
I did. I also predicted that he would pardon Hunter Biden, because the only way to get him out of office was to basically make him an offer he can't refuse, right? Luca Brasi, there'll be one of two things on this piece of paper, your signature or your brains. Well, in this case, it was, Joe, if you stay, we will destroy your family. We will take away all the money that the ill-gotten money that you got from China and Ukraine, and we will send your son to jail. If you, however, agree to not run, and by the way, that segment was right after the debate with Trump, where I came on and said, bye, done. It's done. Right? I like that. Bye, done.
It was good. It was good.
Yeah.
That was very good.
But it was also predicting that the way you leverage this, politics is about power, right? And the way you leverage it, the power was a threat, which was, if you do not withdraw, we will take down your family financially, and we will go after your son and let him go to jail or be found guilty. However, if you play nice in the sandbox with us and you withdraw and don't run and become Jimmy Carter number 2, may he rest in peace, a flaccid one-term presidential term, then we will allow you to keep your money, even though you're going to be too senile to count it, but your family will be fine.
Yep.
And withdraw. And that's exactly what they did. But the egregious thing to me, the widespread criminal pardons that Biden put out. And you have to wonder who's doing it, because it's not Biden. So is it Obama? Is it Jill Biden?
Oh my
Is
God.
it Kamala Harris? Who's doing it? Because it's not Joe Biden, because the elevator at this point does not go to the penthouse with him.
No,
and everybody's
no.
pretty clear on that. So someone had to be putting out that policy. But here's the other thing. It now sets a precedent.
Yeah.
For future presidents, whether it's Trump or anybody after that.
Correct.
I mean, the whole, presidential pardons were supposed to be like abortions, right? Rare.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be like
legal,
abortion.
and rare.
Safe, legal, and rare. So, hello.
Yeah. No, it is the man who was basically putting children in jail to make money off of prisons. Screw that guy. He does not deserve a pardon. He was a sucky suck face, and I would love.
He was a what? Is that in the dictionary?
Write that down. No, I mean that, I can't, he's a asshole. That's what he is. He's,
you know what I love? I love when you beep yourself. So, Lord Benjamin, if you're listening as we round out this show, just remember, just tell Ericka go beep herself. And I think I just gave you a great tool, Ben, for 2025.
Unfortunately, I have control over the soundboard. So,
yeah, but telling Ericka go beep yourself should be sort of a husbandly retort or a tool in the toolbox.
Oh my God, that is so
funny. And by the way, as we end out 2024, I would like Lord Benjamin to join us in the show.
Oh,
because I want to, if he can.
Yeah. You got that, babe? You need me to get your light?
Because I can tell you.
Oh, he needs a minute. He needs a minute. So wait, while he needs a minute, before we go,
thank him profusely.
Yeah, he deserves it. So before we go, does this our clip of Representative Kat Cammack include her asking you about running for office?
Okay, I forgot. I forgot we were going to roll that one. So again,
should we watch that one?
Yeah, but yeah, go ahead. Why not?
Yeah, let's do it.
Congresswoman Custer is someone that we would like to retire.
Very nice lady. She was on the plane with me last night, but I think retirement would serve her well. And you know what? I think you'd be a great candidate for New Hampshire too, since we're talking recruitment right now. But what do you think? Would you be up for the job?
You know what? I would have to check at home to see make sure I have the family behind me, and that's a conversation we'll have at some other time. But I don't think today is that day. But
that was at the First in the Nation summit, ladies and gentlemen.
So I have two things to say. That number one, if elected, I will not serve, and number two, I am not a crook. So,
no new taxes. New taxes. Read my lips.
I have to tell you that the interview with Congresswoman Kat Cammack, she is a spark. She's awesome. She's a fire hose. She's the energy, the enthusiasm. She was awesome. It was a lot of fun to interview her. But no, Congresswoman, I am not running for office
yet.
And obviously, Lily Tang Williams, another one of our guests,
yes,
was the nominee, the Republican nominee in New Hampshire too. We had her on the show. She was great. She came close, but unfortunately was not victorious. But had I run
this time, had you run,
I would have won.
You would have won. All right, Ben, where's your camera at?
Let me turn it on.
Hurry up.
Yeah, we're running out of time here, brother.
Come on, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to Lord Benjamin Redic, who is our producer, who makes, Ericka makes herself look good, but he makes me look good. And he is the numero uno producer, in my opinion. And I just wanted to publicly get your tuchus on the air.
Aww.
And thank you for all the hard work that you have done in 2024 to make us as successful. I think, are we like top 1% now or 5% of all podcasts? I think we're top 1%. And so I wanted to say thank you. Yeah, where's Maria Bornero when we need her? But I wanted to thank you personally for all you have done for Of the People.
Yeah.
In 2024.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for that. I've had a lot of fun. I've learned a lot. I've learned words like petard, and a lot of other things. What DEI stands for. There's a lot of things I've learned. My new favorite term is "Where's the outrage?"
Yes. The outrage.
We've had a good time. And realistically though, the IAD event was also really, really cool to be a part of.
Yeah.
And to help put together something that mattered. Mattered at a time that mattered. So thank you for having me along for the journey. Let's make some more fun stuff.
Yeah.
2025, here we come. Watch out.
Absolutely.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, I think on that note, Robert, unless you have anything else, I think we should close with "Where's the outrage?"
Oh, you're pulling a fast one. Why, of course. Where's the outrage? Go for it. WTO. Where's the outrage? Where's the outrage? The outrage over. Where's the outrage? 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 But where's the outrage? Where do we go from here? And folks, where's the outrage? Where's the outrage? Where's the outrage? Where's the outrage? Where do we go from here? So my first sense of outrage, the outrage. Who did Bang Bang with Fang Fang? Outrage. WTO. The outrage. And on that note, thank you for being with us. Stay tuned.
Dang it. Wait, I was trying to end the show.
Go for it.
What happened? Okay,
ladies
bye,
and gentlemen,
everybody.
happy and healthy New Year to you and your families. We'll see you in 2025.